at the top. Nick Saban. We know why we hate Nick Saban here in town. Do we not? I mean, look, it all happened during those 2 years he was with the Miami Dolphins, and it didn't stem from the fact that the Dolphins doctors screwed him by suggesting, this Breeze, he'll never throw another pass again. And Dante Culpepper, even though he was timed in a wheelchair at 9.6 in the 40-yard dash, they said, well, this is your guy, Nick. Imagine.
The time.
Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very pleasant good morning, everybody, on this fine Tuesday. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubitz. Very happy to have you with us for this edition of what is known as a Defo Show with Mike Lubitz. Although I think you deserve top billing all this week after that 4-0 sweep of the weekend there. You can't do any better than that, Michael. I mean, you should really be proud of yourself.
On it. I could have made money on it.
If you put $20 on that, I believe you get 12-1 on a 4-team parlay. 12-1. 6-1 on a 3-teamer, 12-1, I think, on a 4-teamer. So your 20 would have been worth $240 to you. And that wouldn't have been a bad payday, considering. Now, of course, if you were putting $20 on all of your 4-team parlays that you've come up with over the course of the year, if we ask you to pick 4 games on any given night, why is this night different from all other nights? Because you won. I always get stuck on that, even on my bar mitzvah. Anyway, good to be with you. And people for years have been telling us, in fact, when we first started this stuff with Jack Namer, I don't necessarily like to bring his name up because sort of ended with a little bit of ugliness. Hey, Jack, can we get our headsets back?
That's the only issue I have is that. We could use
Imagine that. Yeah, boy, we could really have used those Sennheisers that we stole from the radio station. That was like our parting gift, wasn't it? I tried to go with the Comrex also. They had... but we got called out on that one, and so because it was a friend of ours that his ass would have been on the line if we had kept it, we brought it back. Had it just been the management there, we would have said, Comrex, I don't know anything about that. This is the piece of equipment that you transmit radio shows with when you're on remote, and it was a very, very efficient piece of apparatus, and it was the modern-day version. I have an old one. I found one. We went through some boxes the other day trying to clean out some stuff here at the house, and I found the old Comrex that required the ISDN phone line. What a relic. You think I can sell that to some radio museum, some broadcasting museum? It could be right up there with the vacuum tube that was designed by the late, great Lee DeForest. Unfortunately for me, no relation, no family ties. Imagine that. This guy was responsible, Lee DeForest, for the development of the vacuum tube, which essentially is the one thing. It's the brains behind television and radio. Incredible. Wow, what would that have been worth? Just to be able to, I should do one of those ancestral research things.
Yeah, just make sure he's not related to you, because I bet
please, God, let me be a distant 14th cousin, anything to that. But good to be with you. People were always telling us when we started this thing with Jack Namer and we started doing the video podcasting and streaming, everybody would say, well, what are you doing a 2-hour show for? I mean, you should be doing 15 minutes. That's all anybody has the attention span for. And so today, unfortunately, due to circumstances out of our control, should I pan to this tray that I have to deal with of IV bags and syringes and all of this other stuff? I mean, it's ugly. Yesterday,
it's ridiculous. The fact that you're doing your own IV.
Marcus fucking Welby here. I have to set the shit up, make sure it's dripping the right way, and then I'm nervous the whole time thinking, did I fuck this up? Did I fuck this up?
Well, because they're like, look, if this doesn't go well, you could die.
Yeah. They keep pointing that out every time I see the nurse. She comes now once a week and says, you know, that vein that they put this thing in is right near your heart. One piece of dust, one speck of bacteria. Whoosh. I'm like, well, that's comforting. Why don't you come and do this every time, man? I mean, what's happening? Did they cut back on Medicare? I'm not sure. Like I said, well, so far I'm functioning and I'm still here and seem to be feeling pretty good overall. So, like I keep telling people, they ask me, well, how are you feeling? I'm like, well, if I didn't know that I was doing these treatments, I wouldn't know I had a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm not feeling any impact of what actually sparked this whole episode here, the osteomyelitis. Look it up, people. It's not pretty. It really isn't. But feeling pretty good about that. But they were always telling us, hey, you should be doing like 15-minute podcasts. And like I said, due to circumstances, I have to get this other stuff launched there by about 8:30. Lubie, you've been very noble in covering for me in some of these circumstances here, including it'll have to happen again tomorrow with the great Tony Segreto
Yep.
on All School. But, people, I noticed one of your No Filters got like 30,000 views. The one that you did.
I try it. What's funny is the one Friday we just said screw it. The Monday we took off. I did the one, and I wanted to do another day, but sometimes we have issues and it doesn't work.
Yeah,
instead of only doing one, and I think it did really. People like those morning briefings, and we only do like 15 minutes.
So, they were right. This jackass, or so we thought, that had no idea what he was talking about, might have been right about this. So we're going to try it right here because we got about 15 minutes to go and a lot to talk about.
Yes.
We got into this with Brett Tessler yesterday. Stupid rules in sports, and everybody was talking about that the rules should change about fumbling the ball through the end zone, that the consequences are too punitive to the offensive team. Now, the rule obviously has, some reason to be in place because you don't necessarily want everybody just reaching for the goal line, and if the ball gets swatted away, there's no consequence. But the differential there, it's a little bit ridiculous. The ball could bounce. I mean, we know that footballs take funny bounces. Just ask anybody who tries to recover a fumble. Ask, somebody on the Kansas City Chiefs. How many guys were diving for that ball there? One guy tried to pick it up and run. A couple of guys trying to dive for the ball. Anytime there's a loose ball in the NFL, it's amazing. You watch 16 different guys to see it scored out of there. You keep thinking of Rick Weaver, right? The late, great Rick Weaver, longtime play-by-play voice of the Miami Dolphins on the radio. And what was his thing? That thing popped down in there like a wet watermelon seed, which was one of his great illusions. So was it not? The wet watermelon seed, the Rappy Cact, and all of the other stuff that he used to use was a little bit corny, but it really is like a wet watermelon seed, isn't it?
Yes. What do you mean? That one where Josh Allen drops it. There's 3 Chiefs there. Tony Romo actually makes the call where there's no way the Chiefs won't get it. and Bills, I think, offensive lineman 5 yards down the field. It's like
some big fat slob coming from the other side of the field falls on the ball, and that's it. Kansas City blows a golden opportunity to essentially ice the ball game at that stage. And yet, I mean, when the ball was fumbled out of bounds by the goal line, and then it went around the pylon and out of bounds, straight out of bounds. It didn't go through the end zone, straight out of bounds. Yep. It's overwhelmingly punitive. If the ball rolls out of bounds after Kansas City had control, Hartman was the running back, right? That carried the ball.
Hardman. We call Hardman. That's who.
Hardman, yeah.
Hardman, yeah.
All right. So, and I thought it was a fumble. I mean, when you saw the instant replay, he was not down before the ball came loose. I mean, he was on his way down, and he was pretty close to the ground, but he kind of, when you land on the other player, you're not actually down. I know. And the offense gets that benefit many, many times. When a player doesn't actually hit the ground, he rolls over another player, and because he never actually hit the ground, the play continues. He's allowed to get up and keep running. We've seen that a few times. So I thought, the replay made the proper call. It was a fumble. But if the ball goes out before the pylon, then you have Kansas City retaining possession at the 1-inch line.
Yeah.
And because it took a funky bounce, you lose possession of the ball and the other team gets it at the 20. It seems absurd, doesn't it? Absurd.
Yeah. Yes.
So it's very much, and we were talking about this on our No Filter show, that the NFL refuses to address the complete inequity of their overtime rule in spite of the fact that they amended it to supposedly be more fair. Think about that. They addressed the rule. Isn't this like the Republican Party? They addressed the rule. Well, they wouldn't even address the rule or whatever the needs of the people were. They would just immediately say, well, it's the woke society. We ain't doing nothing about that. And, and they would have Marjorie Taylor Greene outside of the steps of Congress there going, no, what a bunch of assholes. Abortion, I mean, it should never, I don't want to get into all of that stuff because the politics aren't even entertaining to discuss anymore, except from the absurdity standpoint.
Yep.
But, I mean, in overtime, and we've been proponents of this forever, and nobody listens to us, Lubie. We're howling at the wind. Hey, somebody help. Because I really believe this, that in football, the overtime period should just be a continuation of what was happening in regulation, that is the most fair thing that you could do. In other words, they couldn't decide the game within the 60-minute time frame, so why not just pick it up where the game left off? What is wrong with that? Team has the ball. I don't see any reason not to go in that direction. Team has the ball. Maybe they're at the 35-yard line. and they've got a 3rd and 6 or whatever, pick up the game right there. You're just adding extra time to the clock. Kind of like in soccer. Am I advocating adopting a soccer rule?
Yeah, but even in soccer, they actually stop it and start over. They don't just continue. I don't know if there's any sport that just continues.
No sport does, but I think it's appropriate in football because of the nature of the game itself. It's certainly better than having a coin flip determine who gets the ball first. Every team, for the most part, I would say, 90% of the time, the only team that ever takes the ball is the Packers when they win the coin flip to start the ball game. Except when, Lubie, except when it's overtime and the team that gets the ball first has a humongous advantage. Humongous advantage. If they fail to get a field goal and they punt the ball away, the other team gets an opportunity. Okay, fine. But if they do make a field goal, now the other team gets an opportunity. And yet, even if it's even Steven after that, they still have the next possession that's going to decide the game. So they have an extra possession. It's ridiculous.
Yes.
It's absurd. The game still boils down to who wins the coin toss.
Yes. Yes.
It's too much emphasis put on winning a coin flip. It's insane. So why not just pick up the game where you left off? And, this also makes a little more added excitement to the last couple of minutes of the game. Because, you have all the incentive to want to go ahead and score, obviously. But if you are driving, you're not, losing the entire effort that you made to get to that point just because the game's going to be restarted. And if you happen to lose the coin toss and the other team gets the ball and scores a touchdown, you never see it again. It's insane.
Yep.
Insane. Nobody's listening to us on that. The overtime rule there is completely absurd. Now, I always go back to my roots in boxing. And if I said it once, I said it hundreds of times during the course of doing televised boxing. Okay, here it comes. And the director would say, rules. Right? And you're going, okay, well, why are we even bothering with this? The rules are the same for every fight. And if you don't know them by now, I mean, you should be able to recite them chapter and verse, whether you ever did a broadcast or not, right?
Yep.
No 3 knockdown rule, no standing 8 count. Fighter cannot be saved by the bell, including in the 12th and final round. Only the doctor can stop the fight. And after 4 rounds, it goes to the scorecards. Before that, it's determined that the bout is no contest. If there's some kind of a headbutt or whatever that causes a stop to the fight. Everybody knows that. But why do you have to mention that there's no 3 knockdown rule? There hasn't been a 3 knockdown rule in place or enforced since Jack Johnson won the heavyweight championship. I'm an advocate of the 3 knockdown rule. I believe it should be in boxing because if a guy is on the deck 3 times in any round, come on, Richard Steele, step in there and stop it. I mean, does a guy really need to incur more punishment? He's already going to be down a 10-6 round. Think about that, the equivalent of losing 4 rounds. So what are the chances that that guy, I know everybody's going to go, well, what about Juan Manuel Marquez? He got knocked down 4 times in that Manny Pacquiao fight, fought his way back to a controversial draw where most people thought he got jobbed. But he also had to overcome that 10-6 round, 10-5 round, I guess it would be, if you're going to go with 4 knockdowns in the first round. And a guy that's getting his brains beaten in on the ropes, wouldn't it be appropriate if you didn't want to stop the fight altogether? You thought there was still at least a small fighting chance that the guy who's getting killed at that point could come back and win the fight. Then give him the standing 8 count. It counts as a knockdown. Guy gets a chance to kind of get his brains unscrambled. And if he continues to take the kind of punishment that he was absorbing while leading to the ref's decision to administer the standing 8, 6, 7. How many mornings have you woken up, Lubie, and needed a standing 8 count? I see you every morning in need of a standing 8.
Are you kidding? Well, that's what's funny is that's the one sport they tell you the rules that don't exist that actually should.
Exactly. Yeah, we've eliminated the rules that would actually, bring about more safety for the fighters. And let's brag about it by putting them up for every single fight, right? You could have a 4-rounder of 2 women, and they go, oh, no 3 knockdown rule and no standing 8 count.
Thank you.
Insane, right? Insane.
I don't get that.
Stupid rules. Now, the dumbest rules, of course, are the unwritten rules of baseball. We've talked about that a zillion times, where a guy steals a base in the 9th inning, it's 10-1. And you're like, all right, stop him from stealing the base then. Don't start crying about it. And if the game ends up going any longer, well, what happens? Or even the next batter that's in the box, guy steals a base, and immediately they're going to throw a beanball at him, jeopardizing the man's life. Because of what? Because you're insulted? Insane unwritten rules of baseball. You're not supposed to make a face in the dugout, even though that's what everybody does. When they're rounding the bases and hit a home run. Remember Jose Fernandez? He had that thing going. What was that with the Rays? Oh no, the Braves. The Braves, and yeah,
Braves had a whole freaking thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just it's incredibly clownish to try and abide by the unwritten rules of baseball. Who they're unwritten, so nobody knows what the fuck they are. Like what are you mad about? Because you're losing? Incredible. But what do you think? You think the NFL is going to change that rule? It would seem appropriate to me that if a team was inside the 20-yard line when that occurred, the fumble through the end zone, or even off the side there around beyond the pylon, that okay, put the team back to the 20 or whatever. Take a down, an extra down. I mean, do something, right? Treat it like an intentional grounding, whatever. But yeah, to take the ball away and give it to the other team seems ridiculously punitive for the offensive team on a play that easily could have had them retain possession, but for a quirky bounce of the football.
Yep.
Pretty incredible. Troy Vincent, the former Dolphin and Philadelphia Eagle, he was probably more known for his tenure with the Eagles, wasn't he, Troy Vincent?
Yes.
Troy Vincent is the guy that's, I guess, presiding over this sort of thing in the National Football League these days. He's been an executive in the NFL at a high level
Long
for
time.
a long period of time. My God, holy Gene Upshaw, what are we talking about here? And hopefully they'll move on from the current situation. Although we were talking yesterday with our good friend, he's appeared on this show many times and with us over the years on our radio shows, various other endeavors. Brett Tessler. And I was surprised that he was old school on this. He's usually anti-NFL establishment on virtually everything.
Yep.
But he thinks that they have the right position on that, and there are others that actually agree.
Well, Conjemi, on this show, you had to go and you did the first half, but when you left, I brought up the rule to him.
Yeah.
You and I had talked about it.
He likes it.
And he, being a football guy, even though he's offensive, feels actually bad for the defense. It's like every rule is changed for the offense. It's the one rule that actually helps the defense. Like, why not? Look, if you're the offense, you have everything in your favor, hold on to the ball. And he's not wrong in that regard, because every rule, it's literally impossible to play defense. And you can't tackle anywhere. You can't hit low. You can't hit high. Tristan Wilkins got in trouble for hitting Josh Allen in the chest legally and didn't even push. And that ruined the Dolphins game. Same thing with Patrick Mahomes, where he pushed Patrick Mahomes in the chest. So you can't tackle the guys anywhere anymore. So I get it from that regard. But my problem is, but that's still not defending the rule. You're still not saying it's a good rule. You're just saying, well, let's give the defense a bad rule now. The offenses have so many bad rules. So that is sort of proving to me it's a shitty rule.
I'm with you. Yeah. It's just it's too punitive for what's transpired, especially since it can be just arbitrary that the ball ended up going outside the pylon into the end zone, as opposed to just going straight out of bounds at the 1-yard line where the offensive team would have retained possession. It's too much of a differential for the sort of arbitrary consequence that a guy fumbles a ball and it happens to roll out of bounds, especially like that one with Hartman and the Kansas City Chiefs. And then let's face it, the Kansas City Chiefs would be the benefactors of virtually every rule interpretation because Patrick Mahomes is the modern day Tom Brady.
Yes.
And now with Taylor Swift, right? I mean, is there not added incentive to keep the Chiefs alive? All of these Swifties, these little girls, are now watching NFL football and probably have FanDuel accounts. If your 9-year-old daughter somehow drains your bank account, blame Taylor Swift. I remember getting a call from my son one time. I think it was the only time he ever used the unfortunate indiscretion of not telling me the truth. And I had sent him, I think, $1,200. UCF used to be very reasonable in terms of tuition. I'd sent him $1,200, and he said, "Dan, I can't believe it. My bank account got hacked before I got this money into the school." And I didn't realize it. It never even occurred to me that he was playing online poker. And it got clobbered. He's a pretty good poker player, and usually ends up winning anytime that we're on a trip or Vegas or whatever, Atlantic City. Kid usually just smokes these old bags that are playing in Atlantic City, and does pretty well locally. He doesn't do it that often anymore because now he's making his own money and he wants to keep it. Exactly. It was a lesson learned. And I just told him, hey, if you lost the money gambling, I mean, I would be the last person that you would have to make up some kind of phony excuse for. I understand 1,000%, son. So, you can always tell me the truth, whatever it happens to be, no matter how ugly it happens to be. But can you imagine all of these Swifties are now watching football? I was reading an article, an editorial about how great it is that Taylor Swift is involved in the NFL, and good for the NFL. And don't think that the NFL isn't aware of it. So have they lowered the legal wagering age with FanDuel? I mean, I would imagine with some kind of bogus account, every 7-year-old. How old are the Swift fans, Taylor Swift
Or
fans?
any
Are they
any
all
age
young
from young
teenage
to women.
girls?
I mean, because Shirley started following her when Shirley was young. There's women older than Shirley. I mean, women of all ages love Taylor
Yeah.
Swift. Like her mom loves her. Yeah, Taylor Swift. Women identify with her very strongly.
When does she appear in a FanDuel ad recommending to all of her teenage followers that they start betting their brains out and get a $5 freebie parlay? It's only a matter of time, isn't it? FanDuel will be sponsoring your next series of concerts.
Exactly.
But that's actually been, a lot of people think that that's a positive development, even though the hardcore sports fan seems to be adamantly opposed to the idea that, they can embrace all of the clips of Taylor Swift. I'd much rather look at her than Bob Kraft in the box there, thinking about,
Yep.
the fact that he was, a client at a place that was actually involved in sex trafficking, and that's why they were scoping it out in the first place. Hey, look at that. That had to be, I mean, I wish I was in that police car at that time. Probably in the back handcuffed, but I wish I had been, right? Wouldn't that have been great when they looked and goes, is that Bob Kraft? Coming out of the Asian Spa, a good friend of ours on our Tony Bruno show, John Meter Perel, who does BC college basketball games on the radio and college football as well. He had the perfect characterization of that because I think there was a bagel shop next door to that Asian Spa in Jupiter. And he said, well, that's appropriate. You can get a bagel and a schmear right there in the same location. Two different stores, though. All right, we have to make our exit. It's unfortunate here because we have some stuff to do, and we will see you again at 10 o'clock on the Tony Bruno Sports Network, Lubie and I. Lubie going to be leaving that show, and I don't know what my remaining status is on the thing. I'm involved here for at least the near future. Well, let's put it that way. I'm going to try and make a little pitch there and see if I can't change a couple of things up and make it a lot easier on myself on that thing. But we will miss you on that show. And I like the fact that you're going out in style. You're going out with a bang. Here, you're not letting up. You're not just mailing it in. You're going out full force.
I like it. It's just a lot. I mean, I hope to do stuff with them in due time. Just right now, it's just a lot. We have a lot going on, and
it's difficult. Yeah, no doubt about it.
I really enjoy the No Filter. I want to keep this going.
Yeah.
We have lunchbox. It's just a lot. So I'm hoping to keep working with them. We need to figure out how. It's just right now I need a break from.
I don't blame you one bit. I mean, it's definitely a little bit of a burden, especially with this medical shit that I have to. Go ahead and administer myself. In between.
I still think that's fucking crazy.
8:30 and 10. Yeah. It's been an adventure because I always forget one thing, and then you have to schlep. I mean, there are a lot of stairs in this place. It's on 3 different levels, actually 4. And so if I forget one thing, like I leave my phone downstairs after I hook up this stuff up here to do the radio show, the IV stuff, I have to carry that stick up and down, and then you forget one thing, on another level, and next thing you know, I mean, you're completely out of sorts, and it doesn't work as well. It's not like the hospital where they have that battery pump working that keeps the thing consistent. You start moving around with this, and that drip, drip, drip turns into, hey, what the fuck is happening?
Oh,
so it's kind of wild. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in and understanding. Maybe this is the way to go with the 20-minute show. But we will be back tomorrow. Lubie will take you up through 9 o'clock tomorrow as we'll have Tony Segreto going old school. Yep. And then we should have all kinds of stuff happening. We really need to get back into the Trivia Challenge on Thursday for the Trivia Challenge fans.
Gurgles is expecting it, so hopefully.
Okay, good. We'll do that.
Figure out a way. Maybe you can go an extra 10 minutes or something and just try and get a half an hour of that in.
We'll just start it right at the top. That'll be fine. Tell them to be there at 8 o'clock. We'll go to like 8:30, and that'll be fine. And we'll take it from there. Unbelievable action in the Australian Open. Don't miss that. Jim Sarney was writing about it in the scrolls. Great matchups on the men's side. I mean, you really have a powerhouse field left. We're playing the quarterfinals. I don't know if they played all of them. I guess they played half of them. A couple of matches were still underway when I, came up here to start doing the shows, including Rublev was going against Sinner. That's a pretty good match. Somebody, one of the handicappers before the tournament, suggested that Andrei Rublev, the Russian, red hair, a very talented player, knocks the shit out of the ball, not necessarily as versatile in his style as some of the other guys, but suggested you take Rublev at like 60-1 to win this thing. And he was still alive as of this morning, although in there in a tough, literally a tall assignment, taking on Yannick Sinner, who somehow, a guy named Yannick Sinner is from Italy.
Yeah, what does someone get?
That does not fit. I mean, it's very much in discord with anything. I mean, you would think Swedish, Finland, Switzerland,
Yeah,
Italy.
no, it doesn't feel Italian.
My God, but a hell of a player, man. He was coming on last year. I mean, trying to reach that super elite level that Alcaraz and Djokovic are in. And I don't know that he's going to get there, but he did seem to be progressing in that direction. So don't know the outcome of that match yet. I think it may still be ongoing if it's going into more than 3 sets. And Sabalenka and Coco Gauff looked like they were targeted for a semifinal bout on the women's side. That probably with Swiatek out of the tournament now, the number 1 seed. I think that match will decide ultimately who wins the championship. And that's going to be a bloodbath. So that could be coming up in the next couple of days. Coco, 3-setter, tough time. She really struggled, battled her way through it. And Sabalenka, at last check, was ahead in the first set in her matchup. And probably, I'm going to assume that she has the game going to have moved on. All right, we have to move on. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next time. See you tomorrow with another edition of the Defo Show. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. Catch us on Tony Bruno Sports Network at 10 o'clock. And until then, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time as we leave into that.
The time.
It's 8:34.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.
Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.